All right, welcome back. It's been a while. We got a lot of things to catch up on, but been a very busy market, and it's been a busy handful of months for me as well. So I've been gone. I've been working on my biggest investment ever, and that was getting engaged to my wonderful fiance, Sierra. So that was last weekend. So that's been occupying a lot of my time. So back to the market, a lot of things going on. We did hit some all-time highs. We're on a little bit of a pullback, but it's been a pretty volatile month and a very interesting market that we have. So the AI trade has been on and off. It just continues to be a narrative-driven story based on how the market feels, but the underlying fundamentals are still very, very strong. So we'll get into a lot of charts today. I'm going to go over some news here. But we definitely have a lot of divergence. The big names that have moved the market over the last 5-10 years are taking a little bit of a breather. Names like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, the Mag 7 in general is pretty flat year to date. So the Mag 7 is only up about 2% year to date, while the market is up 5 to 10%. So the market's been doing well without the big dogs that usually move the market. And that's because of names like Microsoft or Micron, AMD, any semiconductor, anything that has to do with the AI build out is doing very, very well. So quick snapshot here. These big tech companies, the Mag 7, they are making an unbelievable amount of money, but they are spending that cash flow on building out the AI infrastructure. And that is going to names like Micron, AMD. We have a whole list of companies that are doing very, very well because that money is being dispersed out, rather than companies like Microsoft buying back their stock and paying a higher dividend. They are spending that money in capital expenditures, and that is great for the overall market, and that is great for a handful of names. So the S&P 500 is not just these 7 names anymore. For a while, it was just these 7 names moving the S&P 500, but these 7 companies are getting all this cash flow and they're spreading it around, which is great for the whole market. So these companies can take a break while the market continues to move forward. I think this is an opportunity to buy these blue chip names because they're not going to spend this type of money forever and they're going to get a return on their investment. We just don't know when that's going to be. So the market doesn't like the uncertainty of how long are they going to spend and when does that return come back to those big dogs. So we'll see what happens there, but that is kind of the general gist of the market. The other big picture thing that I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks is there's so many names like Micron, AMD, SpaceX IPO'd. There's all these new names that are making big moves, and it's easy to get caught up on the new shiny toy and to forget about these high quality companies. That's not how I operate. I'm still focusing on these quality companies like an Amazon, a Google, a Microsoft. I want to buy these while they're weak rather than flood into a Micron that's up 300% on the year and they are crushing earnings, but we don't know how long that's going to go on for. There could be a change in the technology. There could be a change in the capital expenditure cycle. So I'm focusing on these steady compounding companies that are going to be there in my portfolio for 10, 15 years. I'm not going to rotate out of Amazon and go into Micron because it's outperforming this year. So there's a lot of hot money in the market and there's a lot of rotation back and forth based on the AI sentiment. And that's where we're getting some of these volatile moves day to day, week to week in the market. So that's kind of a snapshot of how I've seen things over the last few weeks. Another big development is oil. This is incorrect. Oil, we'll take a look at the chart, is under $70 a barrel. So that is phenomenal. And looks like potentially the Iran war is coming to a close. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at Micron's earnings. They just absolutely blew this quarter out. So they had $41 billion in revenue. That is 350% growth year over year. And their margin is 85%. This is like NVDA type numbers when they started exploding. So Micron deserves to be up 300% on the year. What they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. And their guidance for this next quarter is 50 billion. So that is just insane numbers. And I don't know when this is going to end. I think this has some legs to to continue to move. We need a lot more RAM. We need a lot more memory. But 5-10 years from now, is this still going to be the case? Even 2-3 years from now, I'm not sure. I just don't know what the technology is going to evolve to within the next handful of years. So I don't think anybody truly knows. But regardless, Micron is looking like they are going to continue to crush over the next 1 to 2 years. We did have SpaceX IPO. It did have a really nice pop the first week or so, but we're seeing just momentum kind of die out across the board. You see that in a lot of the momentum names. Bitcoin, even gold was a hot, momentum play earlier this year. The momentum is really drying up in a lot of these names, and SpaceX, I think, is a good indicator of that as well. They pumped to 220 after their IPO at 155, and now it's back to the IPO price. Seems inevitable that it gets down to the 135 where the insiders were able to buy at 135 pre-IPO, and then we'll see what happens there. I'm not touching SpaceX. I like the company. I don't like the valuation and the pie in the sky projections for the company. It's just not my thing. And again, I think it's distraction. It's a distraction from the core AI build out. There's other names that I'd rather invest in right now. I think you'll have plenty of time to buy SpaceX before the fundamentals catch up with the price of the valuation of the stock. We're still on pace to have Claude or Anthropic IPO later this year, but it looks like OpenAI may delay their IPO. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. The other news here, we did have Kevin Warsh have his first Fed meeting. They held rates steady. He really didn't say anything, but sounds like he has a lot of new ideas on how he's going to operate the Federal Reserve. So we'll have to take that meeting to meeting, but not a whole lot to talk about there. So that's about it on this here. Let's go take a look at some charts. Nasdaq, again, doing really well this year. We're down 5% from the all-time highs. I would love a nice pullback here over the summer. That's kind of what I'm gearing up for. There has been some names that I've been buying today. I did do some buying as well. We'll go over those names. But Nasdaq still looking very strong. But, we're having these choppy days here, but it does look ready for a nice little pullback. The summer's typically pretty slow. So, we're getting all these headlines and the market will drop 2-3%. And you're hearing people come out, that's it. It's over. It's time for the big pullback, just like the 2000 bubble collapsed. I think that's complete BS. I think this AI cycle is just heating up. Go look at Micron's earnings. Go look at NVIDIA's earnings. They're crushing it. Go look at Amazon, Microsoft earnings. Things are still doing very, very well on the earnings front. Until we see those earnings reports come in, missing guidance, lowering or missing revenue, lowering guidance, I'm not too concerned here. The market's going to trade on a narrative, and during the summer months when there's just not a lot of activity, a narrative can catch fire and the market pulls back. And that wouldn't surprise me if we get one of those this summer as well. So market in general looking strong. Oil, this is a very welcome sight. Look at this drop. I mean, we're back down under 70. That's great to see. So we'll see what happens here. Probably get another pump to the upside, and then it'll get back down into the 60s is what I'm hoping for. Let's take a look at interest rates. The 10-year yield, a nice little pullback. So this is great to see as well. We were very worried here when we got above 4.5 that we were going to move to the upside. So this is great to see. Hopefully rates can continue to stabilize. We've been here for a few years, just hanging around this 4.3 on the 10-year yield. I don't expect a huge move either way because the economy is doing so well. We shouldn't get a huge drop in interest rates. Interest rates are going to break below 4% when there's some real softness in the economy. But as long as the economy keeps chugging along, there's really no reason for rates to go up or down. I expect us to kind of just chop sideways here for a while. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some individual names. So Google. A nice pullback here on Google. We had a high of 400 and now we are currently at 335. So we're down 16% on Google. These are nice little pullbacks on blue chip companies. No reason why we couldn't come down even further. But anytime we're down 15% on these blue chip names, I'm a buyer of these high quality companies that I really like. A reason for Google's weakness is they did do a bond offering. So Google has a ton of cash. They have a lot of free cash flow, but because of how much they're having to spend to build out their cloud and data centers, they did do a bond offering. I think it was either 20 or 60 billion dollars. So it's not the end of the world, but it's not what the market likes to see. So because of that, I think we're seeing the Mag 7 take a breather, because I think Google is the blue chip of the Mag 7. All the Mag 7 are really high quality companies. But if Google's able to do it, Amazon might look to say, hey, why don't we do a bond offering? Microsoft might look to do it. Meta might look to do it. I believe NVIDIA also did a bond offering to get a little bit more cash so they can go build something. So you're seeing these high quality companies, they're losing some of their free cash flow because of how much they're spending, and they're going to the market to take out debt, which isn't what the market loves. But long term, these companies know what they're doing with the capital that they're going in debt for. They're spending that. They know if they take out $1 billion now, that $1 billion is going to make them $2 billion a year in the next 3 years. So they know what they're doing with this money. Google still has a huge backlog for their cloud, so they need to build the production so they can service those clients and get that revenue on the books. So I'm not too concerned about a bond offering for these big Mag 7 companies. NVIDIA, similar story here. NVIDIA down to 192. This is going to get real juicy to me if we can get below 180. But NVIDIA is also down about 18% from the all-time high. Again, they crushed earnings. Same with Micron. Just phenomenal companies. And this does not look like it's slowing down within the next couple of years. Tesla, a little bit of a pullback. Tesla's kind of like, lost in the weeds here because of SpaceX. You don't hear anything about Tesla. I don't see it. But it's just not really doing a whole lot here. I would say this is bullish that we're consolidating at 380. And it seems kind of crazy to me that Tesla's only 1.4 trillion. And I think SpaceX is let's take a look at SpaceX. SpaceX, a $2 trillion company. So to me, that seems off. I don't quite understand why SpaceX would be $500 billion larger than Tesla, but that's the market. All right, Amazon. Did a lot of buying on Amazon this week. We are down 19% at its lows from the all-time high at 232. I think this is a great company, and to me, this is the best story I want to own right now. This is the number one player. So anything below 240, I'm a buyer. I would love another chance to scoop up more shares at 200. I don't quite think we get there. Look at the volume today. Is that today? That is a huge volume candle. You can see it down here. So a lot of buyers stepping in today. They're thinking, wow, that is the highest volume candle since 2022. So buyers are stepping in for Amazon. I think there's value here, and obviously the market thinks so as well. Microsoft, next name here. This thing is unbelievable how we've just been in a slow grind to the downside. We shot back up to 470 and just a steady sell-off back down here. But again, look at this volume candle. So a little bit of rotation here. That is a ginormous volume candle on Microsoft. You don't see Microsoft have a 6% day. So we'll see if we get some follow through here, but that is a lot of buying coming in here today. So maybe the market's saying enough is enough on some of these names, but still in a clear downtrend here until we get above this 450 level and stay there. Still in a downtrend, but this is another name I've been buying. I did buy some today. I'm not the guy who caused that big volume candle, but I was part of it. I think there's a lot of value here for Microsoft. There's just so many narratives here where it's like Microsoft's dead. Claude is going to take Microsoft's lunch. I just don't believe in that. Palantir is another name that I have been buying. I bought some today as well. This is a super volatile name, but some of these sell-offs are just kind of funny to look at. It looks like you have a breakout, false breakout, just huge breakdown. That is a big move from 165 down to 107. This is just another name where the fundamentals of the business are really, really solid. The valuation is the question here, but at a $270 billion market cap, I don't think it's out of the question within the next 5-10 years that Palantir is $1 trillion business. And that's why I'm buying it on a day like today when it's down, almost $100 from in the last couple of months. So these are the type of opportunities when the market is trading narratives back and forth, back and forth. You have your list of companies that you really, really like. You follow them quarter in, quarter out. And when the market gives you an opportunity, when a stock that you really like drops from 160 down to 112, you have this buy target at about $100. You just got to buy a little bit and close your eyes and keep some dry powder around, because it wouldn't surprise me if Palantir drops to 80, 85, but I'll be buying a little bit more there as well. The other name here, CrowdStrike, this is very, very bullish. This name, we've made videos on it. We've talked about it. Huge performance this year, and I love this consolidation here at the top. CrowdStrike will be splitting their stock early July, so that'll be nice to see. 4-for-1 split. The valuation here is very expensive. I am not buying anywhere near this level. I did my buying down here when things were ugly, and I will buy again when things get ugly again on a name like CrowdStrike. Let's see here. Anything else to talk about? There's a lot of names that are super interesting. We can look at Micron. I mean, just insanity. This thing moves 10% a day. I want to buy Micron under $800. I don't think I'll ever get the opportunity, but if it does present itself, that's when I will look to add this to the portfolio. If not, I'm totally fine adding to Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Google, those names. Other news, Apple did announce that they are raising their prices on their electronics. So they have had a nice little sell-off here from $320 down to $280 at the lows, or $270 at the lows. The costs of things are going up. The cost of RAM has skyrocketed. Look at Micron's earnings. Their profitability is going way up. They're charging Apple a premium for their products because there's so much demand, and Apple has to turn around and say, hey, that Mac Studio that has 100 gigs of RAM or whatever it has, that costs us more, so we're going to have to raise prices, and your phones are going up in price because of that as well. So that makes sense. The market didn't like it, but that just means that Apple's going to get more revenue. The consumer is going to keep buying iPhones. If it's $1,200 or if it's $1,500, they're still going to buy the iPhone. So not a whole lot to talk about there. I think that's about it. A lot of charts we went over. There's a million other charts we can go over, but we'll save that for another video. I will do a separate Bitcoin video and crypto video, but this just looks ugly. I'll just quickly go over it here. We were concerned that we were potentially looking at something like this, and I think that is going to be the case here, unfortunately. It looked like we could hold up this trend and maybe bounce from $60, $70. I think we're at the beginning or the middle stages of our 4-year bear market, where we just have a slow turn down. We'll bottom out and then we'll make our way back up. So not the most fun thing in the world, but to me, nothing has changed with the thesis on Bitcoin. Crypto in general, the thesis I think has changed. I'll talk about that in the crypto video, but AI is where you want to be, and that is the case for right now. So we will wait and see what happens with the crypto world, but I'm not a buyer. I'm not a seller of Bitcoin. When it comes to everything else, I don't own anything else. So I am just holding Bitcoin, and that is it. So that is all I got for this video. Good to be back, and I will be back on our weekly videos from here on out, and I hope everyone enjoyed the last couple of months. All right, peace out.